There I am.
Do you know who I am?
I do, Teresa. How are you?
Okay, I just making sure. We didn't actually like see each other. We just talked. Okay. I love it.
Hi, Nick. How
Welcome.
are you? Welcome.
I am well. No complaints.
All right, guys. So, Nick, you already know. And so, for the rest who don't know, my name is Amir Khan. This is Teresa. Teresa is also my student in Capital Raising Mastery System and a friend. She helps out a lot. In fact, I do most of our workshops, even in our Capital Raising Mastery System, and she does co-hosting. She just does such a wonderful job. She's just natural. I told her that initially she didn't believe me. I said, no, no, you have this talent and you need to be using this, especially when it comes to raising private money, doing workshops and all that, which is part of the learning that we do. Teresa, you want to start? Why don't you start first, and then I'll prepare.
Well, okay. I have something I want you guys to kind of think about. We're doing this and then we're gonna go into the presentation, but I want you to like think, just pick a number in your head, one to two, one to one to two, 1 to 10. And the question that I want you to ask is, what is your confidence on raising private money right now? If you had to go out, do it, you're not even, before this workshop, before you are going to have a better understanding of what Amir's program offers, what is that number? And then I want you to think about that because we'll come back to that later.
Cool. All right. Anything else? Any housekeeping announcements? All right. So I am recording this, and so we will send you a replay of this as well, so you can watch this at your leisure, and we will take questions. I prefer that you don't ask questions right in the middle where I am because I kind of lose my track where I am. So just make a note, and then I'll go back and then answer those questions for you as well. Now, this presentation is a little different, and I'm trying this for the first time. There is a new feature in Chrome where you can split screens from one browser. So you can do two things at the same time. So I did practice it, so hopefully it'll work out right. But I think it's very effective when you're have the main presentation and then you're doing a demo on the right side. So I'm going to try to do that, and hopefully that'll work.
Oh, I can't wait to see this.
All right, cool. All right, give me just one moment. Yeah.
And also, you can either write down your note or you can throw it in the chat and then I'll grab it for at the end or something.
Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yep.
Guys, just put a thumbs up. All right, cool. All right, so on the left side is the slideshow. On the right side, right now, I just have a static image, but I will be showing you the demos and whatever else I have to show on the right side. So the name of my coaching program is Capital Raising Mastery System, and I'll go through this few times so you'll understand what this is. What I'm doing is I'm accepting students as a cohort class, which means I'm putting them in a small group class, and I'm teaching the class in a fast track sessions, which means I'm going through the curriculum really, really fast to bring them on board. So I'll explain how that works. The classes start on August 8th, and I'll go through those details as well. But let me just first start by explaining a little bit about myself. I think some of you might know me. If you don't know me, then just a little bit background on that is that I have been in real estate for about 26 years now, and I do have quite a bit of experience on the residential side and commercial side. And I started as a just a regular investor buying rental properties 26 years ago, single family homes, then did small multifamily, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. And I had a portfolio of properties. And then I had an investment company. So I have experience as a property manager. I had a property management company. I've done fix and flip. I've done BRRRR. I've done new construction. So I've done a whole variety of things on the residential side. And on the commercial side, I have, managed and run my own apartment complex which I didn't have any partners and I did it myself. So substantial experience doing that, really good experience. Now I have raised when I joined Freedom Accelerator, I up to that point with all my past experience, I have never raised private money prior to joining Freedom Accelerator program. So I don't know if you saw my post in school. The year I joined Freedom Accelerator, which was 2023, um, I self-funded my first deal, and after that, for the rest of the year, I raised $0, zero, and not even like anything. I mean, it was completely zero. So from there up to today, I have raised over $1 million. That is for myself and my students, and I have properties in 3 states, small portfolio. So I'm working on that as well. I have spoken at the 2025 summit on raising private money, and also 2026 summit very briefly as well on raising private money. What the program, my program is, this is in one glance if you wanted to understand what the program is. Um, it has, let me use this so you can understand this. So I'll use that right here. Okay. So the program has a core training that's, I'm going to go through and explain that. Beyond that, there are other elements that support the whole program. I'm going to go through that. And then finally, I just launched an operating system. And what that is, it controls the entire program so you can keep track of where you are in the program, what your progress is. So I call it an operating system. Okay. So what I wanted to do today was this, that instead of making a presentation just which is based on what I think it should be, if you remember when you registered for this workshop, I asked you a question, what is your biggest challenge? And based on those challenges is what we're going to be talking about. So one of the challenge that people mentioned was starting out. And the challenge is I want to learn the fundamentals correctly so I know how to start raising money in the most effective way. In other words, I need a program that gives me a roadmap to follow step by step instructions on how to start. So that was one. The second challenge mentioned by people who registered was, how do I make my first contact? How, I don't know what to say. How do I actually even start that conversation? So I specifically want to learn exactly how to make the first contact and know what to say. I need a guide that tells me exactly what to do in this area. And then the next one, they were really just four. And the next challenge was building confidence and removing fear. So I have a fear of asking people for money or asking people if they can invest with me. And so I need to build confidence and remove that fear. And then finally, this is the big one, time. I have limited time. I can't spend large amount of my time going out and networking or doing all sorts of other activities, which I'm not sure whether they're going to work or not. So I need a system that saves me time. All right. So those were the four challenges, and that's what I'm going to build this entire presentation around. All right. So challenge number one, starting up. Right. So again, the challenge is I want to learn the fundamentals correctly so I know how to start raising private money in the most effective way. I need a program that gives me a roadmap to follow step-by-step instruction on how to start. Right. So for that, let me tell you how the program, the coaching program is laid out. So the first part of the program is this core program. So this core program, and now I'm actually going to try and see if I can do this correctly. In the right side of the screen is the community. Let me make sure I'm in the right community. Nope.
There's that.
All right, so this is the community we're in here. Let me put it on the side. And if you come to the actual modules, the program has 29 modules. And these 29 modules start from the very beginning, talking about just basic stuff. For example, I talk about avatar creation process. This is a basic marketing term. Like if you don't have an avatar, you don't even know who your prospective potential private money lender is going to be. So it's just going to be shooting in the dark. So I actually go through that explaining that. And so these are 29 modules. You go through all of them step by step. They're like building blocks for the entire course. And so that's the core program. So again, if somebody is just thinking that, well, I just don't know where to start, well, actually, it is step by step. That's exactly how I show you how to start. The next part is I have these um, set of bonuses, and I call them bonuses, but what they are extremely valuable mini courses. They are very niche courses, and let me show you some of them, and then you'll see the value just in these. So there's a folder right here. Trying to find the right place for bonus right here. All right, and so the first one here is a quick guide to self-directed IRA for slow flips. And this is really my core method through which I raise private money. And whether you know anything about self-directed IRA or not, this guide actually walks you through the process of explaining how self-directed IRA works, basically giving you some fundamentals, then explaining to you how you can understand the slow flip model and self-directed IRA, which will help you work with people with self-directed IRA. So a good guide. I mean, if you just follow this and understand this well, you should have enough information to help your client. So usually what the problem is when somebody, maybe at this stage, if you don't know enough about it, if you come across someone who has a self-directed IRA, you may have a lot of questions and you may or may not be able to comfortably help them. Once you do this and once you go through the rest of the course, you will be comfortable and you will be able to help people with self-directed IRA. I have another report. It's called Bigger Pockets Mining for PMLs. And this is the way exact way I show you step-by-step process on how, and I show you not just in text. If you see, I show you with screenshots and showing you exact place where I find private money lender leads. And I show you even responses from people and what they say and how I actually figure out, who's going to be a good prospect for me, right? So I have that. And then I also have a Facebook marketing. So this is the primary way I did my initial research in finding my avatar. My avatar was people with self-directed IRA, people who are semi-retired or retired and have a self-directed IRA account with some real estate experience. And I am actually in this bonus report, I actually tell you the actual process I went through, and you can actually do it yourself, whatever your avatar is. And I show you exact ads and the strategy that I use in figuring out the key terminologies, and I show you with screenshots of exactly what I did, step by step, so you can understand that. Basically, what I did was I reverse engineered ads targeted towards my target audience. And I figured out the key terms that they use because they are already doing it successfully. And so this actually works really well. This report, Snowball Effect, is one of the most effective report that I've written, and I use this all the time. So I don't know if you're familiar with this term. It's a very generic term, but applying this to self-directed IRA is extremely, extremely powerful. Every time I use this in my presentation, I'm telling you, my prospects are mesmerized because it is talking their language. And so basically what it is, it's a process through which you can more than double their money, right? And it's based on the principle. It's called Rule of 72. And what it does, it tells you depending on the interest rate, how long would it take you to double your money. The problem is with 12%, you cannot double your money in less than 6 years. But what I show them with this spreadsheet is they can more than double their money. And when I say money, I'm talking about cash flow in 5 years. And they have to start with at least 60,000. So for example, this is part of the spreadsheet. The actual spreadsheet is in the course where I show them if they start with, in this case, 120,000, which is 4 homes with a monthly cash flow of 2,668, which is the P&I. Without adding any more money, so they started with 120,000. If they keep redeploying the balance, which means the money that's coming back into their account, and these, you see these highlighted red sections, these are redeployment. And by the end of the fifth year, they have 13 loans deployed, which means their cash flow is 8,671. And so this, when you present something like this, your prospects are going to be blown away. So this is also one of the report, and I actually have a module that explains this as well. And finally, the other report I have is Understanding Financial Planner Presentation. And the reason why I did this is when I was doing my research, I sat through financial planners' presentations, and I realized how some of their presentation lacks clarity and does not provide enough information for some of the people to know what they're getting into, and their returns, what they're projecting, are not real returns. So I actually show you based on the real presentation what the true returns are. This is actually very valuable because a lot of time when you're talking to people, especially with retirement accounts, they are a little bit more sophisticated, they are a little bit older, and they usually will have some kind of a financial planner, or they have worked with financial planners. And so it's good for you to know where they're coming from. So that's now going back to our left side of the screen. That's this side. And then let me also explain, I don't have a graphic for that, but what I did was right over here, I do mention it, self-directed IRA custodian marketing. So this all happens only if you, so my strategy, what is my strategy? How do I get most of my private money lenders? I work directly with custodians or self-directed IRA account, and I do educational workshops with them in collaboration. So, but how do you actually find them? How do you work with them? How do you figure all of this out? Guess what? I've not only done a real case study where I start you from the very beginning all the way to the end, but I also have training. So if you go again in our course, let me actually show you that. It's actually module 19. So this module is me working with Don, and he says, I hope. So this one, let me see if I can actually go back here. Yeah, let me show you the slide. And so this module actually starts by explaining how I found a prospect, which was a custodian company. All right, I'm not talking about a private money lender. Understand this process. I'm talking about a collaboration. I found this custodian. How I found this custodian, in this case, I happened to meet, actually, Teresa, you were on that table with me. So
Yeah.
Teresa is there. You want to just do you remember how actually that introduction happened? That would be interesting.
So, so we actually attended. I was visiting a friend in Dallas, and this particular conference had came up, and it was passive income. I don't know, an event. So it was different sources of how to have passive income. We were all kind of like at tables, and we were just introducing ourselves and talking about. Um, what we were doing, what we're investing in, what we're looking for. And that's kind of how this was brought up, that the woman sitting next to me was with a custodian, Madison Trust. So we were explaining, our core business, and then she was like, "Oh, wait a minute, we have to talk." So we were able to build some relationships that way.
Right. And actually, what really happened was, I think I was there first. We were there first, and she had just joined. So she didn't introduce herself. So I didn't know that she worked for a custodian. So I was introducing myself,
Yeah.
and I introduced by saying that, I worked with custodians and I do educational workshops for them. And so that's when she said, "Oh, we need to talk." And so this is where it started from. And so I actually show you the follow-up emails. So you can actually see the actual conversation that happened. And then they move to a stage where they say, well, for us to work with you, we have to follow this step process, right? Which means they have to go through, they have their own vetting process. So I actually share that with you step by step, what that process is, what documentation they look for. So in this case, in my case, I had to submit my term sheet, which is basically explaining, what terms I offer. And then they basically talked about what is your policy, like what is your strategy, right? So basically for that, I have something called a profile and offering. This is kind of a term they like to use when you're doing collaboration. And so the template for that is included in the course. And this is not a pitch deck. This is profile and offering. So you're not talking to somebody else. So that's why you have to have a separate pitch deck, separate presentation for that. And so I bring you all the way to the point where this is the actual conversation we had. I had a meeting with them before they brought me on board. And then I actually ended up doing their workshop. And so I have that here. So this is a case study, which is based on real case study. And I think this is the best way to learn. And then beyond that, on the right side, if you look, we have weekly coaching calls. So we do have our own community. As you can see, we have a school community right here. Let me get rid of that. We have our school community, and we have our coaching calls on Tuesdays, and that's the best way. Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Central. That's the best way for us to answer your question one-on-one. And so that's part of that. So going back to here. Okay, another question that I get asked when somebody's starting out is when you're speaking with a prospective private money lender, where are they coming from? What kind of experience do they have? So I'm not talking about this section right over here. And so this is a idea that I came up with. And what this is, I call it an avatar experience spectrum. And it's based on an idea that when you're talking to a potential private money lender, you need to know where they're coming from. If you're speaking with someone who is, and this is what it is basically. If you're speaking to someone who has absolutely no real estate investment experience and you're starting to explain to them slow flip model, which is a little bit more sophisticated, you're going to be talking to someone who has no idea what you're talking about. And if you end your presentation without doing anything about it, you're going to have somebody who's confused and who doesn't understand what you're doing. And guess what happens? Somebody who doesn't understand what you're doing, they're not going to make a decision. And not going to make a decision means they're never going to work with you as a private money lender. So it's a very simple concept, but the idea is to understand where they are and gently bring them with slight education to where you are in terms of the slow flip.
Does that make sense?
So that's what this is. And the other thing that I also like to explain is a PML psychology. And for that, I simply mean this, that when you're talking to a potential private money lender, I'm actually trying to do several things, and this is not as easy as it looks because you cannot actually see my cursor there. A couple of things I have to do to make sure these two things work. So PML psychology simply means when you speak to a potential private money lender, I have a module on that as well, right over here. And
available to.
And so this one basically is my process is I call this vetting the private money lender. Just like you assume when you're having a conversation, they are vetting you, you also have to do the vetting process. And why this is important is, for example, the easiest challenge that we have with slow flips is you can find maybe private money lenders, but it's going to be hard for you to find private money lenders who's going to commit for 5 years. So in my vetting process, that's part of my question. If they cannot commit for 5 years, I don't even schedule a meeting with them because I know it's not going to work. I'm wasting my time. I'm going to be wasting their time. Do you see what I'm saying? So this, you have to understand these. These are very fundamental things. And one of the ways you can be successful is simply not waste your time on things that you should not be wasting your time on. All right. So that's the challenge number one. So moving on to challenge number 2. Now, this is interesting. You'll like this. And this is something we're actually going to do some interactive activity, hopefully. Let's see if we can make this work. And so the challenge 2 was making our first contact, knowing what to say when you're going out and making your first contact. So the question was, your challenge was, I specifically want to learn exactly how to make the first contact and know what to say. I need a guide that tells me exactly what to do. So now most people teach, if you ever do some kind of a course, they teach you or they give you, you probably heard of a credibility kit, you've heard of a pitch deck, right? They all talk about that. I teach a variation of that. What I teach is that you need actually 3 levels of pitches. And why do you need 3 levels of pitches? Now, if you step back a little bit and think about it, if you happen to have a first conversation with a potential private money lender, in the first meeting, if you give them way too much information, you may actually overwhelm them. You may overwhelm them with too much information. They may not understand it, and they may not be even interested to talk to you beyond that. So what I like to do, I have it in 3 different levels: pitch level 1, level 2, and level 3. They're really simple. I'll explain this and we'll do a little exercise today. All right. And so the way I've divided this is the first level pitch is really your elevator pitch. And I call it the 15 to 30 second verbal pitch. And this is the purpose of this pitch is very simple. It's nothing more than just getting your prospect curious enough to say, this is interesting, tell me more, or send me more information. That's it. You don't want to be doing anything beyond that. In fact, you should insist that I will send you the information later. After this is what I call an invitation. So your prospect has given you invitation by saying, yes, this sounds interesting. Tell me more. They're not ready for a full pitch deck. That's where most people make a mistake. They immediately go into the full-fledged presentation, showing samples and all that. It's too much. They're not ready. All they said was, send me more information or tell me more, right? And that's where we have something called a 1-page investment summary. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it sounds like. It's your model with maybe one sample deal and maybe some finances, but it's on 1 page. It's enough. It's more information than the 15 to 30 second verbal pitch, but not enough in terms of pitch deck. Beyond this, that's when your prospect says, you know what, this sounds really interesting. What's next? Or how do we go further? That's when you do a one-on-one presentation using your pitch deck. And so that's what I teach. And what I want to show you today is a tool that is included in the program that helps you do this, exactly that, right? And I'll show you that tool and we'll actually we'll do it together so you can see how this works, all right? So let's talk about the first level. So the first level is that verbal pitch. And I'll tell you, some people might be thinking, well, what's the big deal? You know, a pitch is a pitch. You know, sometimes I say something, sometimes I say something different. Well, that's exactly what I mean. If let's say you made 10 pitches, and I'm talking about just verbal pitch. You made 10 pitches. And every time you use slightly different variation of how you explained it, how are you going to measure your effectiveness? Because every time you talk, you're talking something different. You yourself don't even know what works. So in other words, if you do have a conversion, you won't know what you did that made that conversion. So what this does, it allows you to make sure that what you're doing works. So I'm going to show you that tool. And so it's called PML Pitch Perfect. And as you can see, there are 3 boxes here, the 15 to 30 second verbal pitch. This is the first one I'm talking about. So really, how do you do that? You click on this button and it simply asks you 4 questions. It's a 4-step process. And the first question is, describe your real estate investment model in 3 to 4 sentences. What do you do? And so I have the answers in it here, but you can type your own. So I buy distressed single-family homes in the Midwest for cash. I do not upgrade or repair these older homes, but sell them as is on owner financing to end buyer. Then you click next. The next question is, who benefits from your real estate investment model? excluding private money lender. So people who benefit. So I have people who benefit from this model are first-time home buyers who would otherwise not qualify for a home. Question 3, what is the opportunity for your private money partner? The answer is opportunity for private money lenders is to indirectly invest in real estate without the hassle of property ownership and earn consistent income on investment. And finally, fourth question, what are the key benefits of your PML for your private money lenders? And the answer is my private money lenders earn interest income completely passively while their investment is secured, protected, and insured. Now, when you click on the generate option, it actually gives you your verbal pitch. You can copy it. You can actually go back and fine tune it. So the verbal pitch that is ready is this. And it starts with this word. I like to put this word. If somebody ever says, hey, I've heard that you're in real estate, so you start by saying, I'm excited to share what I'm doing in real estate. I buy distressed single family homes in the Midwest for cash. I do not upgrade or repair these older homes, but sell them as on owner financing to end buyers. And people who benefit from this model are first time home buyers who would otherwise not qualify for a home. And that creates the opportunity for private money lenders that I work with so that they can indirectly invest in real estate without the hassle of property ownership and earn consistent income on their investment. And my private money lenders earn interest income completely passively while their investment is secured, protected, and insured. Would you be open to learning more? Now, I don't know if you noticed this. I actually did read this, but there were 2 words that I just changed. And the idea is not for you to use this exactly as is. The idea is that you have the main points, whatever you feel comfortable with, written down and finalized. And then you can ad lib as necessary. But primarily your verbal pitch is there. Now, what this tool does is you can go back and you can fine tune it, right? So that's your first verbal pitch. That's your pitch level 1. And then what I like to do is I go to the next level. This is when somebody says, this sounds interesting. Let's go and send me more information. So that's your level 2 pitch. That's this over here in the middle is that 1-page investment summary. This one is a little bit more information, right? So you're giving them more information and it's 8-step. They're basically 8 questions. And so I have them in there. I'll just show you as I go through this. When you go to the end, it actually gives you an output. You can even put in your logo. So you can have your own logo, has an investment summary, investor's bio, that's your company bio, investment summary. So that's in bullet points, terms, you have bullet points, sample deal, snapshot, bullet points. As you can see, it's very easy and somebody can look at this. And if they're serious, they can say that, yes, this is something I want to do. As you can see, this is not overwhelming. This is not 10 pages. This is not 20-page sheet. It doesn't have amortization table because at this stage, you don't want to go into that, right? And then it does have important things. How do you work with me? And that's exactly what it says. Schedule a one-on-one meeting. That's what you want. I call that a CTA. You want a call to action on every piece of information you're giving to a prospective private money lender. All right. And then now going back here, your final one is the full pitch deck. This is when somebody says, you know what, this sounds interesting. What do I have to do? And that's when you actually go and do the pitch deck. And the full pitch deck is about 10 questions and it's quite detailed. And I'll just show you how mine looks. And so you will go in and input the information. And this one will come out and there's a PDF version of it and it looks something like this. Really professionally looking, really nice, right? Now, this is something for someone who does not know how to do this because I've been doing it. And in addition to that, all of my students actually have access to my pitch deck. And let me show you how that looks like. My pitch deck is not just the PDF version. You actually have access to the template, which is in Canva. So this is my actual pitch deck. And the reason why this is of value is because, pitch deck is a pitch deck, right? Mine works. And there is a tweaking that I have been doing for last 2 3 years, and I think I improve it consistently, but this works. It's the right amount of text, right amount of graphics, and all you have to do is just change your logo on this, put in the information, but this works, and you will have access to this. So that's the actual pitch deck. So if you don't want to use that tool, all right. So that's that. Put that here. All right. So next challenge. The next challenge is building confidence and removing fear. So I need to build confidence and remove fear. And so one way of doing that is knowing and using material that you know works. See, one of the fear that you have is, for example, let's say you weren't sure what to say in your pitch. And that's one of the fear. Well, I don't know what to say. What if I look like a fool if I say this? So when I give you these tools are based on things that work. Now, when I say it works, you know it, I know it. There's nothing 100% in this world, because you may be the best coach in the world, right? If the student is not interested in learning, I can't do anything about that. It's the same thing with these templates. The templates work. They don't just work for me, they work for my students. But what it does is it minimizes the chance of failure, right? And that should build your confidence and knowing that, okay, well, I'm using things that work. I know they work, and all I have to do is use them based on. So let me show you a couple of things that are included. For example, one of the most common questions that I get, that if you're new and you're trying to talk to a potential private money lender, they'll right off the bat ask you, can you send me a sample promissory note? Okay, I have those available for you. If you have them, great, but I have available sample promissory note. Immediately they ask you, show me a sample insurance policy. I have a sample insurance policy for you. You can show them that. Sample mortgage. I have sample mortgage for you as well. Now with the sample mortgage, make sure you tell them that, although this is a template, it varies based on where the property is located. Because some counties require certain verbiage in it, right? And what I like to say is, everything is prepared by an attorney. It is all our properties are closed with title companies, so everything is done in a legal manner, right? And so these templates are included. I even have template to my website. My assistant has put it together, so I have the HTML, CSS code, and she even wrote down steps on how to duplicate my website. Now, website, there's a whole section on system. Website should be just enough for you to convert your prospect. We are not trying to make a beautiful website. We're not trying to make anything. All we're trying to do is website that converts. So if a prospect lands on your landing page, your website or a landing page, he or she gets all the question answered and gets to do the what I call the call to action. So the call to action is book an appointment, set up a meeting with you. If they're not doing that and you have a beautiful website, there's no point, because you're failing them, right? So you don't want that. And so that's what it is. And if you want beyond that, my VA is based in the Philippines. She's been with me for now 5 years. And for a small fee, she will even build it for you. But for most people, it's not necessary. Like I said, I give you the template exactly how it works. Right. So that should help you, build your confidence. All right. Going back here, challenge number 4, time. Big one, right? People don't have time. They don't have time to go through all this, do this, do this. Do I have to network with people? Do I have to do this? Well, so some of the things that I mentioned, for example, is when you're following a system, you actually know what you have to do first, what you have to do second, what you have to do third, and most importantly, you actually know where you're going. All right. So if you know that beforehand, you know that with X amount of time, you can get X amount of result. All right. So for that, number one, I already explained that, you have access to templates, cheat sheets, and guides, right? So for example, I showed you the snowball effect. Now that one, I actually have the original spreadsheet included let me see. I don't think I can open Excel here because it'll try to open something else. But if you see right here, snowball effect. So the actual original spreadsheet is right here. So this spreadsheet took me 3 years to fine tune. And you have the most updated spreadsheet. And the way this spreadsheet works, I've already shown you snapshot of it, is that you can literally put in a dollar amount and it'll calculate the rest for you. And so you can use it live in your presentation. And so again, going back to this, does it save you time? Of course it saves you time because you're using a tool that is proven and is actually extremely, extremely effective if you're using it for the right people, right? So tools like this. All right, beyond this, what is more, what's going to save you time instead of me telling you, okay, this is how you should be making presentation, private money lender is going to ask you a question. Well, instead of that, what if I actually showed you the actual recordings of me making the presentations to real private money lenders, right? So it's not like me telling you theory, it's me actually showing you those presentations. So you can see these presentations are included. And so I'm not only making these presentations, I'm actually using the pitch deck that I just explained to you with a private money lender, and then I'm answering questions. So those are included as well. So again, when you use something like this, it does definitely save you lots of time. Most importantly is the questions, because I can't make up whatever questions people ask me. When you see these real recordings, you can see what real private money lenders ask, right? All right. And so part of this also is this. Let me show you this. This is going to be cool. So one of the things that I just implemented is this. It's a tool that I developed for my students. And what it is, I call this the capital mastery raising operating system. And the purpose of this is to tell you exactly step by step. There are 10 levels in the whole program, right? So when you start, it's going to be blank. You're going to start with level 1. The first thing you have to complete are the core training, right? Which are the 29 modules. And it literally has these buttons right here. And once you complete the modules 1 through 5, you will click this and it will actually record it and it'll know that you have completed one of the 9 items. As you complete all of this, it'll tell you that yes, you've actually completed level 1 and you have finished your core training. I've been part of many courses where there was never anything like this. So what happened was, after I was in the course for several months, I didn't realize, well, I've done all the training. What do I do next? Well, the benefit of this is because it's also leveled, it tells you if you need to go to the next level. So this first level was core learning. You were in level 1. Within next level is implementation. So now you're implementing to learn how to use your pitches, right? And the next one is implementing your systems. I didn't talk about this, but the systems include website, CRM. If you already have these, we will simply tweak yours so you know how to maximize them for usage for private money lenders. A Google Calendar, you have to connect your Google Calendar with the Calendly account. You have to have that set up. A Zoom account, and most of these are free. So we show you how to use them for free. You can get the upgraded version, but it's not necessary. You have to have a Zoom account. Email marketing software system, I'll show you how that's done, and basic automation. That is part of your system. If you have that set up, what it does is then all you have to do is focus on activities, on bringing leads. And once the leads are coming in, they're going through the system because your backbone, your system is in place and it's working. And so as you go further, so the next step is strategy, then marketing, and so on and so forth, right? Now, a lot of time people, when they get through this level, they don't know what else to do. I actually tell you what else to do. Let me give you an example. Let's say you finish all of the fundamentals. You've done the systems, you know the strategy you're going to use, you understand the marketing part, you implemented everything. So you put checks on all of these, right? And now you're at level 6, which actually unlocks one of the very important feature for you right over here, is the Inner Circle Private Money Lender Program, which is my program, my portal, where I connect private money lenders that are in the portal with the borrowers in the program. But to be able to to be able to do this, you have to be educated enough to understand what the private money lender is expecting. Because remember, the private money lenders who are in this portal, they're all certified private money lenders, or they have my private money lenders. So they have expectations. For example, I do a 26-page document on all of my properties. So when I present a property to my private money lender, I send them a 26-page document, and that's very detailed. And so if you've never done anything like that, I don't want you to be on that portal presenting to them and they're saying, "What is this? This person has not done any kind of underwriting. This person doesn't even know this, how to present to a private money lender." So because of that reason, I do the same thing for private money lenders. I don't let private money lenders in unless they commit to a certain amount of money to lend to my students. Number two, I need to make sure they have the minimum skill set, which means going through the course that I've created, which is Certified Private Money Lender course. All right. So as you see, as you go further, you are starting to do more advanced stuff. And one of the more advanced stuff is mastering to do group presentations, meaning to say making presentations to a group of potential private money lenders. That's where things start becoming more interesting, right? And so those are the more advanced skills, and that's what the advanced level skills are. But anyway, this is very, very powerful. Just implemented it literally about a month ago, and all my students are using it right now. All right, so now let me see if this will work. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we're almost towards the end. I'm just going to talk about this. On this screen, of course, I have tons of testimonials. I want to be honest and let you know the only people who have not had any results I only have 29 students. The ones who have had no results are the ones who never show up on coaching calls, who never implemented everything. And anytime I announce something, a promo or something I'm doing, and I want them to be part of it, they never participate. Well, guess what? They probably never got any results, right? But anybody else and Teresa is here, she can tell you that the students that
Absolutely.
have implemented, and most of them were new. Other than Steve, I don't know if you know Steve. Steve is a very experienced real estate investor, and if you read his testimonial, you'll see that he himself has benefited. But everybody else have been new, and they have all signed up private money lenders, and by the way, Teresa is here as well after the meeting. Even now, if you like, you can talk to her. You can talk to her privately. She can tell you how we run our community. And that's basically it. I'm just going to talk about the last 3 slides and then we'll open up for question and answers. And so again, the name of the program is Capital Raising Mastery System. We are doing it as a cohort class, which means I'm bringing in a class of students starting on August 8. And I have a couple of students already signed up and they're all going to start. They have access to the system already and they're going through the training. But I'm going to do the live training starting August 8. And this is where the live training sessions are. Again, it's August 8, 15, 22nd, 29. These are on Saturdays at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. Each of these sessions, they're at least an hour. One of the last session might be 2 hours. I don't know yet. Beyond this, the same week, so it's not like second week, the same week, this is on Saturdays. On Tuesdays, we have our regular coaching calls. You're going to be joining those as well. So there'll be a total of 8 sessions that you have to join. So as soon as students join, they have access to all the systems and all the tools immediately. But I will actually start the training and I will go through the core 29 modules starting on August 8. And yeah, this just talks about how I'm going to teach them. And so again, if you're interested, you can book a call with me so I can go through this and talk about more details. It's dreamprimehomes.com/CRMS. And I can take questions. And if you have a question for me or if you have a question for Teresa, we can answer.
And just a side note too, I put in my information. You can reach me at launchhomesolutions@gmail. We can talk. I'm more than happy to talk with you one-on-one. You can reach out through school too, through the FA community if you'd like.
Questions? Michael, I can't believe you don't have questions. You always have questions, man. You used to be on my newbie calls. I remember that. I still remember it.
No questions at the moment, but give me a minute. Let me see if I can think
Yeah,
of
yeah,
one.
sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's funny, Mike. I don't know your name, but I definitely know your voice from Wednesday's
Okay.
Scott's calls. As soon as you said something, I'm like, I know that voice.
Well, I hope I'm not creating too much of a problem on Scott's calls or this calls.
Now, just like Scott's calls are so beneficial, so are our Tuesday calls with Amir. I'm going to tell you the thing that he does is um, there's always, I want to say, an objective to the call. We're learning, we're either he brings something that we're going to learn something new, or somebody had an issue or a situation, and he brings it into the meeting for all of us to learn. Out of, I don't even know when those meetings started, but I can tell you I've missed four. And I was like on a cruise.
I
They
know.
were
I
going,
remember that one when you
yeah.
were on a
I'm
cruise and
like,
you were trying to log in.
yeah. Or I was driving back from meeting Madison Trust down in South. I'm in Florida, so I went down South Florida for a happy hour type deal. And yeah, I don't miss those Tuesday meetings. They're very valuable.
Yeah, and I think obviously we can compare with Scott's calls. Scott's calls are for the program, and there are that many people, and it's 2 hours, and they're talking about a whole bunch of things. Our focus is only raising private money. So we are only focused on that. And so that becomes interesting. That doesn't mean we don't talk about slow flips. We do talk about it. We share all our goals. We talk about what it is. But because we are a smaller community, we can
Mhm.
actually help each other out. And in fact, that has happened many, many times. One of our investors was selling part of her portfolio, and she put it first in our group, and she was able to get really good terms, and it helped somebody else in the community as well, and that kind of things, right? Plus, anytime somebody has a success in raising private money, they share the story, and so we learn from those stories, just like in slow flip, right? When somebody has a win, that's why Scott mentions them first during the call. Is okay, first slow flip, 10th slow flip, so on and so forth. It motivates people, and basically that's what I've learned is the learning process is, you're not just going to wake up one day and suddenly you're going to go from 0 to 100. It's those small consistent steps towards a specific goal that brings you there. So yeah. And I didn't talk
Question.
about these things. I just last thing I want to mention. There are two more things I didn't mention. We didn't have time for that. One is these licenses that I give for, which is the Certified Private Money Lender course that I've created, and then access to portals. Those are the two things are also included in the program. Sorry, somebody had a question.
Yeah, it was me. So I know in your presentation you mentioned about going all the way through, I think, to a certain level, and then you get access to your trained private money lenders. But if, let's say, you're not that far, um, what type of, where is the person showing up, or where are these private money lenders typically showing up, or where do you need to be in order to be in front of them? Is it RIA groups? Is it Facebook groups? Is it on Twitter? Is it, where's the main, where are the rivers of traffic, if you will, that where you might be able to connect with a potential private money lender?
It's a very good question, and most asked question. And my answer is, believe it or not, private money lenders are everywhere. You want to hear this, and I'm not kidding. This is a real story, and Teresa is going to laugh. Our latest private money lender in our last couple of calls was found at a dog park,
That's what
and
we
that
call
that
it
actually
too.
funded is funding this week to a student of mine. All right. So how does it happen? I think it's I was reading a book and I shared this. It's sometimes don't you see that you start learning something and suddenly something happens in the thing that you're learning, whatever the subject is, and you think it's a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. When you have focused your mind on learning something, you are actually taking steps towards it and you are actually getting better. You may think you're not, but you are. And one of the ways is surrounding yourself with people who are doing the same thing. That's why you have so much success in the Freedom Accelerator program, is because people are doing the same thing. They're talking about the same things. They're surrounded by people who are doing the same thing successfully. So I don't want to make you think that I'm trying to avoid. I already told you where I'm getting my private money lenders. And I'll tell you again, I get so many private money lenders from one source, and I'm so good at it. I'm sorry I have to brag on this because this is the only place I can brag on it, is that works so well for me. I don't have to do anything else. And that's the purpose of this coaching program, is to show you all the ways that you can do this. But you only have to do one thing really well, and it will work so well because you're doing it correctly. You just have to repeat it over and over again. So let me tell you how why that's so successful. First of all, my strategy is working with people with SDIRA, right? Which means I'm showing that spreadsheet where I can more than double their account. Well, guess what? Every few months when they have the money back in their account, they actually pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, I have another 30 grand. I need to do another property. So that's happening, right? Believe it or not, I have not bought a single property in the last 6 months because I have vacancies and I have evictions going on. One of my custodians, and Teresa knows about it, he reached out to me and said, hey, we have dates open for the next workshop and a podcast. What do you think I did? Do you think I said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not taking any private money lenders, so I won't be doing it? No, because, and I didn't even talk about this. I get excited when I explain this. Remember I told you about this PML portal that I have where I connect certified private money lenders with my student? So I've created a new community where I bring in people who are interested in becoming private money lenders, but they have to do this course and get a certification. Once they do that course, they can join my portal. And so let me tell you this, and I'm not making this up. That's why I have Teresa here, so she can say, oh, that's not true. This podcast with this custodian, I did a podcast, and it was literally last month. I did the podcast. It went on air. Within the first week, I got one private money lender. But remember, I wasn't bringing on board any private money lender. Guess what that private money lender is doing right now? He's 50% through that course that I created in that community. And when he does that course, well, guess what? He's putting in all this time and effort going through the course. And I already know how much money he has because that's one of the questions I ask him, right? So that's the person I'm going to bring into the PML portal, where they are now educated in the fundamentals on private money lending. And so when they connect with students like Teresa is already, have you done 2 loans or have you done one in
I've done 2.
She's done 2 just from that portal as well, right? So I expect my students, when private money, when she submits her documentation, she better come up to the level that a PML expects in terms of underwriting, answering questions. Otherwise, she'll be rejected, and we just minimize that chance. And so it's just really, in most cases, it's one student connected to one PML. So your chances of getting the PML is 100%, nearly 100%. And in both cases, Teresa, you were the only one, right?
Well, actually, I through the portal, I've done 1, and then I had a PML
Oh,
that I've got
okay, got it.
2. The other thing I wanted to add, other students besides Amir, Sharon has done podcast. I know Jason's done numerous. He was doing the RIAs, but he was also doing what's the other one? PMI? No, that other group.
The
Business
networking group,
networking.
BMI.
Yeah,
BNI.
yeah,
BNI.
yeah. There you go. And so, so we've taken this information and that we've learned from Amir, and we've spread out. So we've all, not just myself, but others have also done this. So I just want I know Amir keeps saying he's done podcasts and these group meetings, but he's taught us how to do it. And he'll always tell you, make sure you record it. You want that marketing stuff after it's
And
over with.
by the way, so you guys know how did Jason and Joe has done several of those. How did they actually end up doing this? Is because we actually have a training. So we call something called a collaborative workshop. So it's like I do the workshop and I bring them in and they do part of the presentations. And then at some point I do less and less and less and they're doing more and more and more. And that gets them confidence enough by saying, hey, I did this whole workshop by myself or I did half of it, and then they go out and they do their presentation. So we've got lots of things like that we do, activities that we do. But hey, I don't want to keep you guys longer. My plan was just 25 minutes, 30 minutes, but it does. So again, any other question I might be able to answer. Sorry, Michael. Hopefully I did answer your question. It was indirect, but you understand you can find private money lenders anywhere. One of the easiest place is RIA, just because most of the people there are themselves private real estate investors, right? So if you don't have anywhere else to go, you want the easiest of the easiest is the RIA. But I teach a very specific strategy, which is tied to this licenses that I'm talking about that I give you, is you going to a RIA, becoming a member, attending a couple of meetings, and then making a relationship with the organizer, going to the organizer, telling the organizer, hey, this is what I do, and I'm looking for private money lenders. But the most important thing I have to offer is that I teach this course for people who want to learn to become private money lenders. And that's really your call to action towards the end of the presentation, right? And does it work? Absolutely, it works. And so if that's one of the strategy you can do. But in terms of places, like I said, I do self-directed IRA, so I go to custodians, and custodians already have private money lenders. So that's why I chose this route, is because I knew if I directly work with the custodians, I have my avatar and the captive audience. Anybody who is going to be on that workshop is not only my avatar, I know they are more than well qualified. They have the money. They're vetted in all other senses, right? And so all they have to do is just set up a meeting with them and they're ready to go, because I already have a relationship with that custodian. So it's very easy for me to start working with them because I already know how that custodian works.
Quick question too, with the whole process in general. I mean, with private money lender, most of the time, if not all the time, you're saying your investment is backed by real estate. Do some of your private money lenders still require a personal guarantee, or
Zero. None of my
Zero.
private money lenders ever asked me. You know what I've learned from that? I've learned that, Michael, you have the way you present yourself will make the difference in terms of what the private money lender will do in terms of pushback or questions. The way I have my presentation, my pitch deck, it's so thorough. It preemptively answers all. So I have a whole section towards the end of my pitch deck, which are just frequently asked questions. And one of the questions is, what are my returns? And I never mentioned personal guarantee. I just mentioned, hey, you are protected, secured, and insured. And I tell them mortgage, promissory note, insurance policy. And I also buy title insurance policy for them as well. So there are 4 layers, right? So nowhere there I mentioned personal guarantee. And strangely enough, the way I present myself, nobody's ever asked me. Nobody has ever even asked me, hey, what about personal guarantee? By the way, Scott has a very good answer for that. Do you remember what Scott's answer was for that?
no?
Okay, Scott's answer is this. Well, if I was to give you a personal guarantee, are you okay to take 8% return on this deal? What do you think they're going to say? Well, why 8%? And say, well, because I can go to my bank and I can get 7 or 8%. Yes, the reason why I don't do that is because it's limited. I may not be able to get unlimited loan, but I actually get lower than that, right? Because they will require personal guarantee. They will check my credit, all that. And I don't want to do that. That's why I'm giving you more, because the risk profile is slightly different. And so most of the people I talk to, they already know all of this. That's why they don't ask for personal guarantee. Personal guarantee is usually used for someone I don't know. I don't want to go into that argument, but yeah, I mean, people do ask for it, but nah, nobody's ever asked me.
Thanks. That's it for
Sure.
me.
Cool. Any other questions? All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you again, Teresa. I appreciate it. And I
You're
will
welcome.
post the replay and I'll send you via email. Thank you, guys. Have a rest
Okay.
of the good evening.
Bye.
Thanks, Amir.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Amir.
Teresa.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks.